Well, at Semicon Day 2 in Bengaluru, and we are joined by Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, Principal Secretary with the Government of Telangana on IT industries and commerce. Sir, it's a pleasure talking to you, especially the fact that I'm meeting somebody from Hyderabad after really long belonging to Hyderabad. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. My pleasure to talk to you.
Right. So first and foremost, what is the scope of Telangana in terms of the semiconductor manufacturing? Where do you see the state going forward?
See, I had a very educative time in the panel discussion. I was there and there were state secretaries from 4 other states. And I noticed a few things. One was that literally all 5 of us had many things in common. For example, the quality of infrastructure that we are willing to offer to the companies, the kind of incentives that we are willing to offer, the talent that is available, and the commitment of the government to really support it. So every state more or less spoke on the same lines, including myself. And then when someone else was speaking, I was wondering, how does one differentiate between these states? If I'm an investor and if 5 people more or less tell the same things to me, will it not really confuse me?
Right.
So then I started putting an investor's hat to think, if I have to make that judgment, how else should I make that judgment? What other questions should I ask? And then I thought for myself that I should ask 2 more questions. One is, what is the track record or the credibility of the government in delivering on your promises? And the second is, how sustainable will that be? I mean, you may say something for today, but will you be able to be held accountable 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line? And it is on these 2 counts that I think Telangana really stands up. That first of all, we are absolutely stable. I'm the IT secretary, the industry secretary for the last 7 years. I have seen the kind of support we have been giving to the industries. That is one of the reasons why more and more investors continue to repeat their investments in our state rather than choosing to go elsewhere. And secondly, the track record and delivery. In fact, particularly during COVID time, when the whole world was tested, we were also tested equally, but we really stood up to that test. So the track record and delivery, the reputation on matching up to your words, etc., is what really an investor should look at. And this is where I believe Telangana really stands up.
Great. So just to pick up that point on track record and further going, I think I'd agree with you that Telangana has been quite an achiever in those terms. But do you think that we have the resources in Telangana after so much already happening on the software side? For example, Vedanta has been vocal about the fact that they're talking to a couple of state governments, including you, about having at least 1,000 acres of land. Then we also look at a lot of water supply that we'll need if we are actually manufacturing chip. Do we have that those enough resources in Telangana, keeping in mind that the development has already been robust?
Yeah, so you raise a very valid point, and let me mention this. So after Telangana got created as a separate state, we took stock of how much of industrial land bank can be created, and with the blessings of our Chief Minister, Honorable K. Chandrasekhar Rao Garu, we were able to set up a land bank of about 150,000 acres, which in my opinion will be one of the largest in the country. Of course, Hyderabad and Telangana are fortunate in the sense that, as you would know, this was a state ruled by the Nizams earlier, who had supreme powers over authority over land, and after the Nizamiyat was abolished, all that has come back to the government. So government does have huge access to land, and setting about 1,000 acres for this project is not really difficult at all. The state also has invested a lot in power generation and creating a water grid, which is called Mission Bhagirath. So we are quite all right. I mean, the ask is high. I'm not undermining it, but we have the wherewithal to meet it. But the reason why we are willing to meet is that we really see this as a transformational kind of an industry. In fact, in Telangana today, we are having internal brainstorming sessions on how can we triple the size of our economy by 2030. Telangana already, though being a young state, just about 7.5 years old, has become an economic powerhouse, but we don't want to rest on our laurels. Our attempt is to make the size of our economy triple in the next 3 years. And obviously, if you have to do that, you will have to attract such big ticket investments. And if certain amount of infrastructure has to be additionally devoted for this kind of a big ticket project, I mean, it is worth it. It is justified, so to say. So I am very confident that the investor community will evaluate all these special features about Telangana, and I'm sure that a favorable decision will be taken that will come our way.
Right. So, which are these multi-global companies that you have been talking to, especially on semiconductors? I mean, Vedanta has been.
So it's like this. The number of players are very few, and I'll be very honest with you that all those players who are out there, who are now very serious about setting up something in India, have narrowed down to 5 or 6 states, and they're talking to all of them. So everyone is being spoken to by all the companies, and of those 5, 6 states, we, to the best of my assessment and understanding, are appearing towards the very top.
Okay. So one last question. This could also come a bit political, and this is on the water bifurcation. Now, keeping in mind that it's one river divided between 2 states, are there consolidated efforts on how you look into water supply? Because that is going to be the foundation of an industry or a big global firm selecting a particular state on chip manufacturing.
See, while I don't deal with this subject directly, but I can give you a very broad answer that Telangana has rightful share of the 2 river waters, the Krishna and the Godavari, and using its rightful share, it has created a water grid across the state, which is called Mission Bhagiratha. So water from both Godavari and Krishna are being lifted, and it is ensured that every household in Telangana gets potable drinking water supply. So 10% of that water grid has been reserved for industries. And right now, even though Hyderabad is heavily industrialized and so much of new industries have come in the last 7.5 years, we have used not even 4% of that allotment. So there is huge amount of surplus available for.
Thank you very much for talking to India today.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.